I have two confessions to make. The first is that I love St. Paul. Now, I know that among the mainline, particularly those leaning to the left, this is taboo. We're not supposed to like St. Paul. We're supposed to make most of our sermons about how Paul was wrong. But I love St. Paul. But my second confession is connected. Even though I love St. Paul, back in the day, I used to skip over those salutations at the end of his letters. I didn't like them. I used to think that best case scenario, they were just Paul name dropping. Romans 16, I want to introduce to you Phoebe. Verse 3, say hello to Prisca and Aquila. Verse 5, say hello to Epaenetus. I wish he ministered in Latin America, it'd be a lot easier to say these names. Verse 6, to Mary. Verse 7, Andronicus and Junia. I didn't read those salutations. I used to skip over them. I would rather pore over the genealogies or Levitical codes on how to properly sacrifice a ram. And then I became a regional minister. A regional minister with 3 3/4 states, big states. A regional minister serving a regional church with a long-standing relationship with the Tennyson Center for Children at Colorado Christian Home, a disciples-related school institution that serves emotionally, physically, and sexually abused children. I became a regional minister of a regional church with its fair share of Phoebes, Priscas, Aquilas, Epaenetus, Marys, Andronicus, and Junius. And then I realized that St. Paul wasn't just name dropping. St. Paul was connecting people. He was connecting people. In the Central Rocky Mountain region, that beloved regional church I serve, our vision is to be a web of relationships committed to the ministries of justice and compassion as disciples of Jesus Christ. St. Paul was web weaving. Moreover, St. Paul's web weaving had a purpose. When he mentions the people he mentions, he always mentions what they did, what their gifts were, what their passions were, what they sacrificed for the sake of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So this was no web weaving for the sake of web weaving. This was no institution for institution's sake. Commercial break. That's what's killing the church. St. Paul was building an institution for the sake of mission. St. Paul was networking for service. St. Paul was calling together to care. MBA is a lot like St. Paul. I'm not sure about temperament and attitude, but they're a lot like St. Paul. In that they're calling us together. For we are stronger together. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. You see, St. Paul is dope. MBA is being, dare I say it, apostolic. MBA is calling us together to care, bringing institutions and people gifts and graces, bringing all that together so that as church, so as the Christian church, disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada, so that as church we can serve more intelligently, more effectively, more faithfully. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. You see, St. Paul is dope. MBA is calling the eyes and the hands, the heads and the feet of the one body of Christ, calling all those members together to serve a broken, hurt, and abused world. MBA is masterfully weaving a web of relationships of health, social service, education, and weaving together these ministries of care because they're stronger together. They're bringing these institutions institutions together and reminding them and reminding us that we are stronger together.
That's right.
Reminding us that the eye cannot say to the hand, I told you, the NBA is done.